Et Templis Mysteria, os Ordo Malleus. Praise the Emperor for his sacrifice. As he endures, so shall we. We who are hunters of demons shall strive in his name eternally. We, the Order of the Hammer, shall delve into the dark shadows. We shall seek out the tainted. We shall pursue the vilest evil. It is we who stand guard. Our eternal watch shall not fail. For we are the Ordo Malleus. We Grey Knights are the Hammers. We slay the darkness without fear. Founded in great mystery we were. Chapter 666. Though on Titan we be hidden, yet our eyes encompass the galaxy. No devil shall elude our gaze. No demon shall avoid its fate. We shall be the keepers immortal. All secrets shall be our knowledge. We are the guardians of mankind. Caution and secrecy are our code, hidden from the eyes of chaos. We strike without warning or dread. Though we find ourselves in shadows, no blackness will enter our hearts. No treachery will touch our souls. No pride will sully our thoughts. We shall be pure amongst impurity. We shall be innocence amongst guilt. We are the Imperium's hidden saviors. We are spread across the heavens. Our watch is untiring and ceaseless. The Emperor shall guard our souls as we guard those of others. Our will shall be our weapons. Our faith shall be our armor. Our minds will be secure fortresses. No temptation will weaken our resolve. Though unnumbered lurking perils await us, our blades will ever be ready. For we are the Emperor's vengeance. Masters of all weapons are we, no defense exists against our wrath. With the Nemesis shall we fight, with an aegis to shield us. In bloodshed shall we save mankind. Death shall be our everlasting creed. War unending shall be our fate, in battle shall we be steeped. We shall be unstinting in hatred. We shall hunger for holy war. For we are swords of justice. When all flee in hideous disarray, strong and sound shall we stand. Our courage comes from the Emperor. Unbowed and unshaken against all foes, we shall claim victory with blood. Steady and surely we hunt them, those that dare oppose our wrath. Death stalks us in many forms, the grotesque and the utterly inhuman. We are the bringers of hope. Bloody battles unending constantly await us. Redemption the reward for our vigilance. When possession rears its unspeakable head, ours is the blade that descends. When Empyrean horrors invade our realm, our exorcisms shall hurl them back. There is no chaos-spawned horror which can resist our indomitable anger. With undaunted courage we shall prevail. No arcane magics shall overcome us. We are the bearers of victory. No corruption shall blemish our galaxy. No immaterial fiend shall be spared. No malevolent spirit will oppose us. No creation of sin shall survive. No unholy deed shall go unpunished. All blasphemous acts shall be atoned. No spawn of misrule avoids us. All are banished to the void. Nothing shall evade our cleansing fire, not demon or spawn or renegade. For we are mankind's divine blade. Heavenly blessings are laid upon us. The warp is ours to tame. Though sorceries shall be against us, no witchcraft will bring our doom. Though spell or incantation blocks us, the Emperor shall see us victorious. No hex can overcome our determination. Our resolve is strong as steel. Sigils and wards watch over us. Prayers shall serve as our guide. For we are the Emperor's chosen. There is much darkness awaiting us, yet the Emperor lights our path. Falsehood surrounds us at every turn, yet no traitor shall confound us. No despicable trickery will thwart us. No damnation shall bring us low. There is no peace for us, for an eternity we will strive. Though mere mortals in his service, everlasting shall be our true duty. Et imperator invocato diabolus demonica exorcism. Brethren of the Sanctus, attend now and listen well, for the truth I speak is one few are ever privileged to hear, and many who do witness this greatness often do not survive to tell the tale. It is a truth whispered only in the halls of the Inquisition, buried deep within vaults sealed by the highest authority, and known only to those whose duty demands knowledge too dangerous for the common mind to bear. There exists a force within the Imperium unlike any other, a chapter of warriors who fight not for glory, nor for conquest, nor even for the preservation of the Imperium itself, but for the survival of reality as we know it. They are not bound by oaths of fealty to lords or councils, nor do they march beneath banners proclaiming past victories. Their wars are fought in silence, their triumphs erased from history, for the mere knowledge of what they confront is itself a contagion. These warriors are the Grey Knights. To call them Space Marines is to mistake the instrument for its purpose. They are of all the Emperor's genetic sons, as the Adeptus Astartes claim to be, but the living embodiment of his will, his answer to the great mistake that nearly doomed humanity during the Age of Heresy. They are not paragons of strength or courage, though they possess both in abundance. They are paragons of purity, beings sculpted not just in body but in mind and soul, created to face the one enemy against which bolter, blade, and armor alone are meaningless, the demonic. Unlike the Astartes, the Grey Knights do not resist corruption. They are impervious to it. Where other psychers tread the edge of madness each time they reach into the warp, a Grey Knight bends its power to his will without the slightest risk of inversion. This is not strength. It is perfection. Perfection of design, of discipline, of sacrifice. You will not find their names in the rolls of honor. Their victories are not celebrated, their dead not mourned, for they are remembered only by those whose own memories are soon to be purged. Where they walk, silence follows. So please sit and listen closely. In an Imperium defined by compromise, corruption, and the slow entropy of millennia, the Grey Knights remain untouched by the rot that infects all other institutions. This is no accident of fate, nor is it solely the result of the Emperor's genius in genetic crafting. It is the consequence of sacrifice, fanaticism, and a level of control so absolute that it would be indistinguishable from tyranny were it not wielded in service to humanity's survival. A Grey Knight must wield the power of the mind as readily as he wields his blade, for it is only through the disciplined focus of psychic will that the demonic can be truly opposed. Their wargear, from the iconic Nemesis Force weapons to the Aegis armor that shields their souls, is an extension of this philosophy. Purity through mastery, resilience through control. Yet, this purity comes at a cost. The Grey Knights are isolated not only from the common citizenry of the Imperium, but from their fellow warriors. Even the Adeptus Astartes, the Angels of Death, are regarded with suspicion by the Grey Knights, for the psychic taint that comes from prolonged exposure to the warp lingers within all who are not subject to the same ruthless scrutiny. Where other forces might tolerate small compromises in the name of expediency, the Grey Knights do not. They cannot. A single moment of doubt, a flicker of weakness, could invite disaster on an unimaginable scale. Their existence is a paradox. They are humanity's ultimate defense, yet the vast majority of humanity will never know of them. To speak openly of their battles is to speak of demons, and to speak of demons is to invite corruption. Thus the Grey Knights wage their wars in silence, often exterminating not only the demonic threat, but all who witnessed it. The Imperium endures not through knowledge, but through ignorance. The common citizen must never understand the true nature of the enemy, lest the very act of comprehension become a vector for corruption. Even within the highest echelons of imperial power, knowledge of the Grey Knights is tightly controlled. The Inquisition, itself an organization defined by paranoia and ruthless pragmatism, views the Grey Knights as both indispensable allies and a potential threat. For if even the smallest crack were to form within the chapter's psychic wards, the result could be catastrophic. But history teaches us that no institution, no matter how pure, is truly eternal. The Grey Knights endure not because they are immune to corruption, but because they have created a system in which corruption is impossible to conceal and ruthlessly excised the moment it appears. They are sustained by vigilance, not invulnerability. Their wars are not waged for conquest or glory, but for survival, prolonging the Imperium's existence one day, 1 hour, one battle at a time. In this, they embody the Imperium's highest ideal and its greatest tragedy. A life defined not by hope, but by the grim determination to endure, no matter the cost. The creation of the Grey Knights was an act of grim foresight, born from the Emperor's recognition that strength alone could not preserve humanity from the predations of the warp. The failure of the Legiones Astartes during the heresy had proven that even the most formidable warriors could be turned against the Imperium if their minds were not as fortified as their bodies. The Emperor's vision for the Grey Knights was therefore more than a refinement of the Space Marine template. It was a rejection of the flawed premise upon which the original legions had been built. The Grey Knights would be fortified against corruption by disciplines of mind and soul as rigorous as the genetic enhancements that shaped their flesh. Their alliance with the Ordo Malleus, the branch of the Inquisition tasked with the suppression of demonic threats, was no accident. It was a convergence of necessity and ideology. The Inquisition, by its very nature, operates on the principle that knowledge is both power and poison. To know of chaos is to invite corruption, and thus only those whose will is absolute can be trusted with such dangerous truths. The Grey Knights were designed to be the embodiment of that principle, beings who could confront the warp without succumbing to it. The process of creating a Grey Knight begins long before the implantation of gene seed. Potential recruits are drawn from the most resilient psychers humanity can produce, individuals who have already demonstrated an extraordinary ability to resist the temptations and terrors of the warp. These aspirants must undergo the 666 rituals of detestation. Candidates are brought to the Chamber of Trials, not a place for training but of elimination, where the rarest and most resilient psychers are tested to destruction. Talent and purity are mere prerequisites. Only those with unyielding will can survive the rites that follow. The first trial, the pilgrimage across the haunted plains of Xanadu Regio, tests the mind's endurance. In this twilight wasteland, aspirants walk alone, assaulted by visions and temptations. Most collapse in silence, consumed by their own unraveling thoughts. Those who survive face the second rite, the descent into the caverns beneath Ganesa Macula. Here, glyphite stalks, crystals attuned to psychic instability, grow toward any flicker of doubt or fear, impaling the weak in cages of jagged stone. Only those with perfect mental discipline emerge. Further trials strip away all but duty. Personal ambition, identity, and even hope are excised. Of thousands who enter, only a handful endure to receive the Emperor's gift, the gene seed that transforms them into Grey Knights. Even then, the transformation itself is another gauntlet. As part of these trials, aspirants must wear an inhibitor collar. As it sounds, it is fixed around their neck, and is keyed to explode should the aspirant lose control of their immature psychic powers. To become a Grey Knight is not to be shaped, but to be purified, forged into a weapon without flaw or compromise. Anything less than perfection invites annihilation. Even among these exceptional candidates, the vast majority fail. Only those who emerge unbroken and uncorrupted are permitted to advance. Once accepted, the initiates undergo the standard transformation into Space Marines, but the gene seed they receive is not standard. It is a refinement of the Emperor's original work, stripped of the flaws and susceptibilities that had plagued even the most loyal legions. Some say it is of the Emperor's own gene sequence. Like the custodians, they see the Emperor as their progenitor, and they have been known to call their own gene seed the Emperor's gift. Of course, this gene seed and will must also help temper Grey Knight's ability to channel the warp. Every Grey Knight is trained to control that psychic power with a precision and discipline unmatched by any other force in the Imperium. The warp is not an enemy to be fought with bolter and blade. It is an insidious force that preys upon doubt, fear, and ambition. The Grey Knight's psychic training is designed to excise these vulnerabilities, as surely as their genetic augmentation enhances their physical form. Their war gear reflects this duality of strength and purity. Nemesis force weapons, blades, halberds, and other close combat implements are finely crafted tools of war that help act as conduits for the wielder's psychic will. Each strike a physical blow and an assertion of dominance over the immaterial, a rejection of the warp's influence. Their armor, too, is more than protection against physical harm. The Aegis pattern power armor is psychically attuned to its wearer, reinforcing mental defenses even as it deflects enemy fire. Every inscription, every sigil etched into the ceramite serves a purpose, as part of a complex system of wards and counterwards designed to repel demonic intrusion. This powerful armor comes at a cost, though, fueled by the souls of psychers in great forges, their essence combined with the ancient sigils giving the armor its unique glow to onlookers. The notion that the Grey Knights are pure of heart is often misunderstood. Their purity is not innocence but the absence of susceptibility. It is not enough for a Grey Knight to resist temptation. He must be incapable of perceiving it as temptation in the first place. This is why they are stripped of personal identity upon induction. They have no past, no family, no ambition beyond their duty. In the eyes of the Grey Knights, there is no glory in their work, no heroism, only necessity. They do not fight for victory, but for the prevention of annihilation. Even the Inquisition, an institution defined by secrecy and ruthless pragmatism, regards the Grey Knights with a mixture of awe and fear. They are the final sanction, deployed only when all other measures have failed. Their presence acts as an anathema to the immaterial, and it is this quality, more than their strength or skill, that makes them unique. Every psychic power they unleash, every force weapon they wield, is an assertion of humanity's right to exist in a universe that is fundamentally hostile to it. They are not crusaders in the traditional sense, for they seek no conquest, no expansion of territory, no ideological victory. Their wars are fought in the shadows, often unknown even to those they protect. When a world is purged of demonic infestation, the Grey Knights do not linger to accept gratitude. More often than not, they leave behind silence and ashes, the memories of their presence expunged to prevent the knowledge of chaos from spreading. Where others see power, the Emperor saw corruption, and where others sought to control, he sought to deny. The Grey Knights were not created to wield the warp like a weapon of ambition, but to master it as a surgeon masters the scalpel, precisely, clinically, without the slightest margin for error. Human psychers, even the most talented, walk a knife's edge. The act of reaching into the Imperium invites attention from entities older and more malevolent than the galaxy itself. The fall of countless imperial worlds can be traced not to invasion, but to a single psycher's lapse. One moment of doubt, one whisper answered, one ward left unrenewed. The Grey Knights are the only force designed from the ground up to defy this inevitability. Their psychic gifts are shaped by this mindset, Each Grey Knight is trained not simply to channel warp energy, but to dominate it, to bend it utterly to his will without the slightest risk of inversion. The mind of a Grey Knight is a fortress with no doors, no windows, no cracks through which corruption might seep. It is this impregnable certainty that repels the denizens of the warp, not the strength of the Grey Knight's mind, but its flawless, inescapable structure. Even the most gifted librarians of other Astartes chapters cannot match this control. Their strength, while formidable, is ultimately contingent on constant vigilance, a balancing act between power and peril. The librarian who pushes too far, who holds too tightly to the flame, risks becoming the very thing he fights. This mastery extends beyond individual strength. A single Grey Knight is formidable, but a brotherhood of them, fighting in concert, becomes something greater than the sum of its parts. Their psychic abilities overlap. They harmonize, creating a gestalt field of willpower that suppresses the Imperium itself. Where a librarian must guard against intrusion, a squad of Grey Knights projects an aura that nullifies the very possibility of possession. Demons, for all their power, are fundamentally creatures of instability, dependent on cracks in reality and psyche alike. Against the seamless discipline of the Grey Knights, they find no purchase. Yet this supremacy comes at a cost. The Grey Knights are few, not merely because their gene seed is rare, but because the standards of recruitment and training are merciless. Thousands are tested, hundreds die, a handful succeed. Each Grey Knight is the culmination of a process that breaks all but the most resilient minds. The Imperium could, in theory, train more librarians, but to create more Grey Knights would require resources, candidates, and expertise that simply do not exist on a scale larger than the chapter itself. Bolters loaded with psychically charged ammunition, Nemesis force weapons guided by minds sharper than the blades themselves. These are not instruments of conventional war, but tools of eradication. It is this quality, the ability to unmake rather than merely destroy, that elevates the Grey Knights above all other forces within the Imperium. They are the final sanction, the force deployed when all other measures have failed and contamination threatens to spread unchecked. In their wake, there is no celebration, no memorialization, only silence, as the memory of their intervention is expunged to prevent the very knowledge of chaos from taking root. Where mortal psychers gaze into the warp and tremble, the Grey Knight gazes back, and it is the warp that recoils. The Grey Knight's war is one of necessity, waged in silence and secrecy, not out of vanity but because the truth they confront is too dangerous to be known. The Imperium survives not through understanding the warp, but through ignorance of it. Knowledge invites corruption, and even the briefest exposure to demonic reality can unravel the mind. The Grey Knights exist not just to fight the demonic, but to prevent knowledge of it from spreading, for the threat lies as much in recognition as in confrontation. Their arrival is not heralded by fanfare but by sudden, decisive violence. Strike cruisers, sleek and austere, emerge from the void with a precision that borders on the preternatural. The Grey Knights do not posture or parley. Their tactics reflect this philosophy. Orbital bombardments are employed to cripple infrastructure and to cleanse sites of ritual significance. Precision teleportation inserts squads directly into the heart of the incursion, bypassing defensive lines and striking at the nexus of the corruption. Every action is calculated to minimize the warp's hold on reality. Where other forces might see a battlefield, the Grey Knights see a wound, one that must be cauterized without hesitation. A single survivor, tainted by even the faintest brush with the warp, could undo all their efforts. To the Grey Knights, every life spared is a potential vector for future corruption. Guardsmen who fought alongside them are summarily executed or subjected to psychic scouring, their memories flensed until nothing remains of the horror they witnessed. Space Marines, ostensibly the Imperium's mightiest warriors, fare little better, mind wiped, sworn to secrecy, or in the most extreme cases, quietly eliminated. The Grey Knights understand, as few others can, that chaos cannot be bargained with, contained, or ignored. It is not merely an external threat, but an infection that thrives on awareness. To witness a demon is to invite its attention, and to understand the warp is to open the mind to its seductions. The Grey Knights themselves are immune, not because they are stronger or more virtuous, but because they are designed, from inception to ascension, to be incapable of corruption. Those who survive an encounter with the Grey Knights often speak of them in hushed tones, if they speak at all. The official record rarely acknowledges their presence. Entire regiments disappear from Imperial logs. Worlds are marked as purged with no further explanation, and survivors are quietly reassigned or executed. The Inquisition ensures that no trace remains, for the greatest weapon against chaos is ignorance. Thus, the Grey Knights remain myths, whispered legends among the ranks of the Astra Militarum, half-believed stories exchanged by space marines who understand, deep down, that even they are not trusted to face the warp unshielded. To gaze upon the demon is to invite madness. To witness the raw energies of the warp unleashed is to risk utter spiritual annihilation. Even the briefest exposure can leave scars upon the soul, invisible wounds that fester and bloom into heresy, mutation, or possession. We have seen it countless times in the annals. Brave soldiers of the Guard, pious members of the ecclesiarchy, even proud warriors of other Astartes chapters. None are inherently immune. Their faith, their training, their very physiology offers often insufficient protection against the poison of chaos. Only the Grey Knights are proof against this contamination. They are the incorruptible blade, the unwavering shield. They must be, for they wade through psychic filth that would drown any other. Because of this terrible dichotomy, their purity versus the corrupting nature of their foe, the Grey Knights must operate under a shroud. Their existence is classified at the highest levels, known only to a select few within the Inquisition and the High Lords. When they appear, it is often without warning. But what of those who witness their passage? What of the Imperial Guard regiments holding a failing line only to see silver giants teleport into the heart of the demonic horde? What of the planetary defense forces who fight alongside these unknown Astartes against horrors ripped from nightmare? What of the ship crews who witness their vessels docking, or the astropaths who might relay their signals? Their fate, colleagues, is grim. The Grey Knights cannot allow knowledge of their existence, or worse, knowledge of the specific demonic threats they face, to spread. Therefore, witnesses must be managed. For the common soldiery, the judgment is often swift. Execution. A bolt round to the head is considered a mercy, preventing the potential for slow corruption or the spread of maddening truths. Entire regiments, who moments before were hailed as heroes for surviving a demonic incursion, have been systematically purged by those they perceived as saviors. Think of the battle for Armageddon, the first battle against Angron himself. After the Grey Knights banished the demon Primarch, the Inquisition, with the chapter's necessary compliance, enacted a vast program of extermination. Millions paid the price for witnessing that victory, not just on Armageddon itself, but across sectors as troop ships were intercepted and destroyed, listening posts silenced. The price of secrecy is astronomical, paid in the lives of loyal servants of the Emperor. Sometimes, mass execution is deemed impractical or unnecessary. In these cases, telepathic scouring may be employed. Mind wipes, deep and brutal, erasing not just the encounter, but potentially vast swathes of the individual's memory and identity. They live as hollowed shells. Where does such an organization, burdened with knowledge that could unravel the Imperium, store its truths? Where do they keep the records of their endless war, the insights into the hated foe? The answer lies deep within their fortress monastery. Within this forbidding edifice of black basalt, bristling with weaponry and cloaked in shadow, lie vaults and chambers designed to hold secrets far more perilous than any physical weapon. The Sanctum Sanctorum, descending into the citadel's core, past watchful servitors and purposeful silver-armored giants. Deeper and deeper you go, until you reach portals unlike any other. Triple-sealed barriers, colleagues, bound not just with the most advanced locking mechanisms known to the Adeptus Mechanicus, but woven through with warp magics, wards humming with contained power, designed to keep out the eyes of mortal men and the other sea. Beyond these gates lies the sanctum itself. Picture towering shelves reaching into the shadowed heights, laden with time-worn tomes bound in strange hides, crumbling scrolls covered in script that writhes before the eyes, and fragmented data crystals glowing with cold internal light. Our own archives here on Holy Terra, even the revered vaults of the Scholastica Sicana, cannot truly rival the sheer depth and danger of the lore contained within the Sanctum Sanctorum of Titan. The chapter's librarians, honored battle brothers, each a potent psyker, specializing in different facets of the knight's history and demonology. They move through the aisles, overseeing sections dedicated to specific warp phenomena, histories of demonic incursions, or treatises on psychic disciplines considered heretical anywhere else in the Imperium. Assisting them are servitors, yes, but not ordinary ones. These are hunchbacked, shuffling creatures whose minds are wiped clean and reprogrammed at the start and end of each Terran Standard day. A necessary precaution, for even a moment's unfiltered exposure to the raw data contained here could shatter a lesser mind, or provide a foothold for something other. Everything humanity has learned, lost, and desperately relearned about the Imperium across the aeons. Here lies the carefully guarded knowledge of how to forge and attune Nemesis Force weapons, that unique blend of technology and psychic channeling, a secret gifted, it is said, by the Emperor specifically for his demon hunters and kept safe since the time of the heresy. Imagine the power contained in that knowledge alone. The ability to craft blades that can sever not just flesh, but the very soul stuff of a demon. It is even rumored that the Sanctum holds other writings penned by the Emperor himself, lost lore from the dark age of technology, insights into the warp that predate the Imperium, knowledge deemed too dangerous for any but his most trusted, incorruptible sons. And at the very epicenter of this labyrinth of secrets lies its most protected, most vital chamber, the Librarium Daemonica. If the Sanctum Sanctorum is the heart of the Grey Knight's forbidden knowledge, the Librarium Daemonica is the heart within the heart. Encased in adamantium walls, floor and ceiling meters thick, shielded by layers of void generators and wards, lies this ultimate repository. Within its confines are recorded the true names of every demon ever encountered and catalogued by the Grey Knights across 10 millennia. The true name, that ultimate vulnerability, the key to binding, banishing, or even destroying a creature of the warp. To possess one such name is power beyond measure. To hold a library of them, the potential is staggering, the danger unimaginable. Should this knowledge ever fall into the wrong hands, should the enemies of mankind even learn of this chamber's existence, it could spell absolute doom, not just for the chapter, but potentially for entire swathes of the Imperium. The security surrounding the Librarium Daemonica reflects this apocalyptic risk. A single passage grants access, barred by 3 distinct doors. The first, a hulking blast door of adamantium, capable of resisting sustained melter fire, sealed by a cipher lock whose combinations verge on the infinite. Pass this, and you face the second portal, a shimmering spatial displacement field, an artifact of forgotten science that bends space back upon itself. Any attempt to breach it turns the attacker's weapons upon themselves. Movement becomes meaningless. trapping the intruder in a localized loop of space-time. Survive that, and you face the final barrier, a swirling vortex of pure magic, anathema to both demons and psychers. Any being touching the warp who attempts to cross without speaking the precise words of power will have their soul ripped from their body, their essence scattered into the void. And before each of these three gates, kneeling in meditative silence, force blade resting across knees, is a guardian librarian. Specially chosen for their focus, they rise instantly at any approach, ready to strike. Appearance means nothing to them. Whether you wear the silver armor of a brother or the face of a trusted friend, speak the secret passwords in the moment you have, or forfeit your existence. Yet the Sanctum Sanctorum is not the only repository of the perilous on Titan. There exists another place, maintained by a distinct order within the chapter, the Chambers of Purity. If the Sanctum holds knowledge, the chambers hold things unknown. Artifacts and trophies deemed too dangerous, too profane, too actively malevolent even for the librarians to study or for display in the Hall of Champions. These chambers are the domain of the purifiers, those grey knights whose souls are anathema to the warp, whose psychic presence is resistant and actively harmful to demons. Books bound in human skin whose pages whisper madness, blades that thirst for souls, bones that twitch with captured demonic energy. These are the remnants of vanquished foes, the tools of defeated heretics, objects so soaked in warp energy that they remain a constant threat. Only the combined will of the purifiers, alongside the ancient stasis technology, keeps these demonic artifacts dormant, preventing them from whispering their corruption into the very stone of Titan. But the Chambers of Purity hold deeper, older secrets still. The Iron Grimoire, a sacred tome kept by the Supreme Grand Master, hints at another purpose for this heavily guarded place. It speaks of a great evil imprisoned beneath the citadel, something ancient and unkillable, buried there by the Emperor during the very unification of Seoul. For this reason, the chambers must always be guarded by at least one purifier, their cleansing presence a vital part of the containment, lest this primordial horror awakens from its 10,000-year slumber. What being could warrant such caution, buried by the Emperor himself? The records remain silent, but the implication is chilling. Furthermore, it is within these chambers of purity, reputedly in the very vault said to contain the tomb of Malcador the Sigillite, the Emperor's most trusted servant, that the Grey Knights keep their ultimate contingency, their most profound secret. It is not a tome of infinite knowledge, nor a weapon of cosmic power in the conventional sense. It is an instruction, an artifact known only as the Terminus Decree, an object so secret it goes unrecorded in any other Imperial library or archive, including our own vast repositories here on Terra. Its existence is a truth-guarded jealousy, known only to the lineage of the Supreme Grand Masters of the Grey Knights, passed down from one incumbent to the next in solemn, unrecorded ritual. No brother captain, no Grand Master, not even the revered prognosticars who sift the tides of the warp for glimpses of the future, are privy to this ultimate truth. Only the one who holds the highest command, the final authority within the chapter, bears this terrible burden. According to the fragmented whispers we can glean, within a simple wooden box, unadorned, unassuming, save for one critical detail, it is sealed with a golden sigil. And within this box, written upon parchment described as ancient, even by the standards of the Imperium, lies the decree itself. The texts are infuriatingly silent on its exact nature. We know it is an instruction, a directive. We know it is the chapter's ultimate sanction. It is the final resort, the measure to be enacted only when all other hope for the future of humanity is extinguished. The golden seal, reflected only in one other place, upon the Emperor's throne in the Imperial Palace. Speculation, of course, runs rampant among the few who even know of the decree. Some posit it contains the final true name, the one that could unmake the concept of chaos, but at the cost of unraveling reality itself. Others suggest it's a command to enact a galactic-scale exterminatus, purging friend and foe alike to deny the archenemy its ultimate prize. Perhaps it unlocks a weapon hidden on Titan, or even triggers a psychic protocol buried deep within the Astronomicon or the Emperor himself. Could it even be the key to the Emperor's resurrection or his final death? We simply do not know, and perhaps we should pray we never find out. The existence of the Terminus Decree, an acknowledgement that even with the Grey Knights, even with the might of the Imperium, utter defeat remains a possibility. It is the Imperium's final, most secret weapon, held in reserve for an apocalypse we must strive endlessly to prevent. It represents the ultimate trust placed in the Grey Knights, and the ultimate burden carried by their supreme Grand Masters throughout the millennia. It lies there still, deep within the chambers of purity on Titan, within its simple wooden box, beneath its golden seal, waiting for an hour so dark that its activation becomes the only choice left. A silent promise or a silent threat, echoing from the dawn of the Imperium to its potential twilight. The final secret of the Silver Knights.